To another of our webinars on air. Tonight I'm joined by Patrick Mackey, and it's our birthday, so we're celebrating a year's worth of webinars on here. We're due to be joined with Gail and Hugh, but I know that Gail is stuck in traffic and Hugh's got delayed, so we're going to start off anyway. And firstly, can I introduce Patrick?
Hello, Steve.
How's things up in sunny Scotland?
Not so sunny today. All the rain you had yesterday has made it up to us today.
Oh dear. No, that wasn't nice yesterday.
No, well, it's not a lot of fun here today, but...
Right. Okay, well, they haven't joined us yet, so I'm going to switch back to the presentation, which is something along the lines of that. Can you, wait a minute, can you see that? Yes, great stuff. So, food safety webinars, it's our first birthday. We've been doing these now for over 12 months. So, we first started using the Hangouts on air because we thought it was a good way to get that information out there. And this, I need to click on the presentation so I can move it forward. Right. Our first pilot webinar on Hangouts was back in May last year. Diana Smith and Dave Layla and myself just mentioned one or two current topics that were hitting the news in our respective areas of Diana with health and safety. Dave is a fire risk assessor, so that's fire safety. And I did an update on the food safety and the food information regs. It wasn't a long one, but it got us going. Later that month, I did the first trailer video, and I was experimenting with green screen, which I've now bought myself a halfway decent camera, and I've set my studio up to full green screen. So hopefully I'll be doing that a little bit later on for future efforts. In June 2014, David did our first official webinar on Hangouts on the food information regs that were due to come out later in the year. This latest regulation on allergens would massively affect most caterers. I followed this up in July with an overview of the food hygiene rating system, which I should say there that that's a different system in Scotland. You've got a pass or a fail, but in the rest of the UK, we have this sort of rating of 0 to 5. Jude Hutchinson covered food safety culture in the August review, and we were joined with Mark Williams, who has been a regular contributor to these webinars and always asks interesting questions. September saw an update on E. coli 0157 after the latest update to the guidance, and that included separate equipment for complex items such as slicers, vacuum cleaners, as well as updated guidelines on sanitizers and disinfectants that now have to reach BS-EN 1276 or the higher grade BS-EN 13697 standards. We visited the food information regulations again in October, and that's Hugh up there. He joins on that one. And we gave out more information on things like allergen matrix and information cards. So Hugh joined us on that one, and we briefly had Diana Smith, but she couldn't stop, unfortunately. Jude did a very interesting one on the November one on food defence, and that's Mark Williams there who joined us. And that was an interesting one. That was more to do with the big manufacturers and the international producers and all the rest of it. At Christmas, I was joined for the first time with Patrick, and we put people straight for defrosting the birds, making sure various things were done at Christmas to make sure that people were safe. Then I think it was on probably the 1st or 2nd of January this year, and we had a very hungover, very low-key, getting back to basics on cleaning and disinfection. In the February one, Jude did a similar job for hand washing on that February one, and Gail has actually just started out on her new business as a freelance trainer and auditor. So she actually joined me earlier today. We were doing the CIH regional conference in Harrogate, so we had a room full of trainers down there. Then well, no, not, was it last month? No. Yes, David gave us an update on Campylobacter for the March edition, and he followed that up with the third review of the position regarding allergens, and now looking down 4 or 5 months after this, looking at sort of where we stand now. So that brings us bang up to date with this birthday webinar, and here's the next 12 months. So I can't see anyone's joined us, Patrick. So what do you think to that we've covered in the over the last year? I think we've done quite well, to be fair.
I think you have, Steve. I only heard about your webinars from David Newsom about 6 months ago, and it was interesting to come along and join the discussion. As I say, I don't work routinely in food hygiene. My specialism at the moment is health and safety, but I retain a considerable interest in food safety, having had a fairly extensive and varied career in environmental health.
Yeah. So, I mean, what sort of safety issues do you see as being important for people within the food industry? Catering, I guess, is probably more of our target audience than food manufacturing, but I certainly would welcome anyone who's got an interest in food safety. So where would you see the health and safety side fitting in, maybe for some future issues of the food safety webinars?
I think one of the big issues that we're seeing at the moment is gas safety. A lot of people are unaware of their duties to ensure that the gas appliances and extract ventilation systems are safe and inspected on an annual basis. And we spend quite a lot of time working with businesses to make them aware of that and to ensure that both their cooking appliances and their ventilation are safe. We've come across an awful lot of problems with makeshift installations, people putting in appliances themselves, which is illegal and dangerous, and problems with ventilation, which makes kitchens very hot and unpleasant places to work, let alone being unsafe in terms of the quantities of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide that may be present. So that's a big theme for us. Another theme is beginning to emerge for me is fire safety in kitchens. You tend to have a lot of flammable materials. You have ignition sources, obviously, and you tend to have problems with storage, obstructing fire escape routes, and so on and so forth. And very often people haven't got the right firefighting equipment either. So that's another theme that we see emerging. And I think...
Patrick, can I just stop you? I'm just going to introduce. Gail has dashed here from the city centre at Leeds, I guess. I mean, we tried to ring you back, but the phone was dead. So, Gail, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. We've actually got some viewers tonight for change. Most people look to these webinars later on. So, Gail, over to you.
Hello, I'm Gail. I do independent consultancy in health and safety and food safety. Also teach at Harrogate College and also do other bits and bats in association with health and safety and food safety. So, hi.
Yeah, well, we've just been going over the last 12 months of what we've done on these webinars. I know that you joined us one back in probably October or whatever. So just sort of recap there, and we were just saying that we've covered quite an area in those 12 months. And Patrick, have you met Patrick before?
No, hello Patrick.
Hi Patrick, so this is Patrick. And Patrick's obviously more on the health and safety side, but has an interest in food safety because he's covered it as an environmental health officer. So we're just going there, and he was talking about, first of all, gas safety, which is a bit of an issue for both environmental health people as well as caterers. I know locally I'm responsible for helping out on the gas safety, amongst other things, on the Christmas market. And I know that Harrogate are very sensitive to that because a couple of years ago on the Yorkshire Showground, we had a burger van that blew up because they hadn't had a gas safety sorted. So that was dangerous. And then Patrick was just going on to say about fire safety. So we'll pick up from there. You were mentioning fire safety before Gail joined us, Patrick.
Yes, sorry to interrupt.
Yes. Yes, Steve. I think the last issue it's on our radar. For Gail's information, I'm a local authority EHO, so I'm an inspector. I'm on the dark side still. The last issue that we're seeing a few issues with is handling of hot oil and cleaning deep fat fryers. We've had one accident to investigate recently, and we're seeing a lot of bad practice around, particularly with events and temporary catering setups. So that's another theme I think we might want to look at a wee bit.
One of the things that was common practice back in the 70s, and we didn't know any better back then, but one of the things that used to happen regularly was you would empty the oil, and hopefully you wouldn't spill that on your toes or scald yourself or burn yourself. But the practice of using caustic soda in the deep fat fryer to clean both the fryer and things like stove tops and whatever. Do you ever come across anything like that these days, where you can buy caustic soda off the shelf for about a couple or £3?
I haven't seen it. Obviously, it's quite a nasty chemical to work with, and there probably are better commercial alternatives which will come with manufacturers' safety data sheets to help people do their cost assessments and identify safe ways of working.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about the whole issue of chemicals in kitchens, it's always been of concern to me. As I say, we did that before we knew any better. Certainly the ovens and the fryers were clean, but we could have really injured ourselves badly if we'd have been splashed with stuff. Also, it's another reason I won't have things like domestic bleaching in the kitchen these days, because of how it reacts with other chemicals. And just going back to your fire safety, one of the things that I see quite often these days, it's come in the last 20 or so years, is this fashion for using a blowtorch in the kitchen to do things like creme brulees, and then people not thinking, you're putting the blowtorch on top of a solid stove, which I've seen some videos on YouTube where security cameras have caught these things when they're blown up and shot the can across the room. So not good at all. Do you ever see anything on safety, Gail, at your end?
Actually, both those things. I've investigated an accident where somebody has fallen into a pan of hot oil because they hadn't let it cool to 50 degrees before they cleaned it, and he ended up having a skin graft. And then I've also been to a hotel in the Lake District where they had a blowtorch blow the kitchen doors off, quite literally.
Ooh.
So yeah, I've seen both those things.
Yeah. So Patrick, any other areas of health and safety that you think we might be able to cover in future issues? Because I think that the health and safety aspect in kitchens in particular does get overlooked, and certainly I would love to have a couple of issues around the safety side rather than just the food safety or the allergen side.
I think there are plenty of issues around health and safety in kitchens. I mean, working with knives, strips and balls, the whole business of safety and cleaning, occupational health with dermatitis from skin contact with cleaning materials. There's lots and lots there. The issues around gas safety and hot oil are probably the ones which are uppermost in my mind at the moment, and they're probably the ones I'm currently passionate about. Just on the temperatures for draining oil, the HSE guidance is still 40 degrees C, 50. Although a lot of people think 50 is a safe temperature, it's not. Oil has a high heat capacity, and at 50 degrees C it can cause quite significant burns.
Yeah, I mean, even hot water, it's at 50 degrees C. If you submerge your hands in 50 degrees C, you'll certainly come out with a bright red rash, if not a burn if you leave it in for long enough. If I was even washing up in a sink with water at that temperature, I'd want a pair of marigolds on for certain. So,
Guidance there is. Sorry, Steve.
Since the last one.
Catering information sheet number 17.
Sorry, say that one again, Patrick. I couldn't hear that.
The relevant guidance is catering information sheet number 17, and that's downloadable free from the HSE's website.
Right, we'll have to have a look at that one, and maybe we can get a link into that at some stage. Maybe put a comment or a link on the YouTube site so people can download that afterwards, Patrick, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So what's been happening generally in your world, Gail? Because you're sort of fairly newly self-employed, although you have plenty of experience in the trade, I do know. So how are you finding self-employment?
Well, at the moment, I'm busy being employed to do Starbucks health and safety audits and Nando's health and safety audits, which is quite interesting to see how they operate because the new customers to deal with. And on my own side of things, yeah, I'm getting lots of local business, which I'm finding I need to really balance my time. I think it's important to do a bit of both. I want to keep my hand in with the Nando's and Starbucks thing, but at the same time I need to make sure I spend enough time doing my own.
So, the reason I ask is I know that I've got at least one of the viewers on tonight is thinking about doing the same as you, but she's doing it down south, and hopefully she's going to be going out onto the yachts and doing the Mediterranean, which I'm quite envious about myself, but there you go. So, Patrick, do you think you'll be able to come up with a suitable subject for next month? Are you available next month?
June, I'm just trying to think. I probably won't have time to prepare properly, Steve,
Right, okay.
because I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks at the end of May. So I'd like to do a good job for folk. And in July I've got an exam, so I'm going to be busy with revision.
Right, okay. Well, perhaps for later on in the year. I know there's a possibility I might be away both for July and August. In August we're going to drive our 2CV to Poland, would you believe? 2,000 mile round trip. So I'm either going to have to get someone else to host this. I don't think I'm going to have a decent enough Wi-Fi to be able to do this from either Torun or Gdansk. And in the July one, there's a possibility that I might be somewhere in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I've been asked to put in for a bid for some work out there, but that's inconclusive at the moment, so I may not. It's a nice thought, although training 30 degrees of heat with in the monsoon season isn't really my idea of fun. So we'll have to sort of check with David and Jude and anyone else who can get on, and maybe even get you to do one, Gail, and show us what you can do on the presentation side. So it's 5 to 8 at this time. Has anyone got anything else that they want to add to this birthday celebration that we've got? Silence. Okay. Well, it's good night from me. Patrick?
Good night from me, Steve, and happy birthday for the webinar.
Thank you. And Gail?
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you. Sorry I joined late, but thank you for letting me join, and I'll look forward to the next one, which will be the 2nd of June.
Okay. We don't know what's going to be on the 2nd of June, but I'm sure we'll come up with something relevant by then. So stay on the line, you two, and we'll have a quick chat. And for the rest of you, I hope you've enjoyed this birthday celebration of our webinar, and we'll catch you soon. Bye.